Mark P. Otten back with you. Okay, now that I have run you through a multi-part series on ANOVA with two independent variables using gender as an independent variable, I am here to say that maybe we shouldn't do that. So what am I talking about? Well, this is just a word of caution. If we use gender as an independent variable, we are presuming that being female or being male is causing or leading us to behave a certain way, if this is psychology research predicting behavior. So it's a little bit strange because, like, let's say I predict that there is a gender difference between men and women in basketball performance. Like, is this now suddenly a sexist hypothesis that being male, let's say, causes you to play basketball better? Now we're being sexist, right? Imagine, if you take this one step further, imagine you make a similar hypothesis about racial or ethnic cultural background. Now we're saying that certain racial groups or ethnic groups are better at basketball than others. That now we're racist. What just happened? Okay, so let's back up. What happens a lot of times in psychology research is we look at gender differences and we treat gender, or we treat it at race or some other demographic variable, as an independent variable, implying that that demographic variable causes changes in behavior. So if we say gender differences or cultural differences, we're okay, probably. But if we establish causation in how we talk about it, then we're in trouble. So there's a fine line there, and I'm not here to present the answer on should we just then never use gender as, like, we could say gender should never be an independent variable. We could back it up to the part of the flow chart with the hypothesis, the roadmap of decision making. We could back up gender to just be a part of the chi-square section. It would then be not an independent variable, right? Because if you're doing a chi-square, there's no causation. It's just one or two variables that you're looking at. We could do that. But then most psychology researchers, I would say, do not do that. And a lot of times we want to look at gender differences or differences across categories to be able to compare and say, well, in our sample there were some differences here, or test for that using an ANOVA typically. So when we do that, if we do that, I would say just be cautious when you're making interpretations, and also when you're interpreting the causation. If in the future you go on to do psychology research and somebody uses gender as a independent variable, feel free to bring it up. Or it doesn't have to be gender. It could be some other demographic variable like I mentioned. You feel free to bring it up and be like, hey, is this really what we should be saying? Like, this being male causes you to do this? Certainly, a lot of times it's not the other way around. Like in the basketball example, playing basketball does not cause you to be male, right? That's not, but either way, there's no causation there typically that we should infer. So yeah, feel free to bring it up in the future. And also the other way around, if someone brings up the fact that, hey, it's not always appropriate to have a demographic variable as a independent variable, then you heard it here first. So just, go forward with critical thinking in this area. That's my recommendation. Think critically about what it means to have causation or to manipulate a variable in a psychology research study. If you're taking my Psych 320 class, you're going to be taking Psych 321. You're going to be designing your own experiments. So you'll have some choice, and you'll be reading research articles too. So you'll be a critical consumer of this stuff as well. Just something to think about for now.